responsible for the supervision of all employees of the district, establishes the job description, serves as the board liaison with staff, fosters good working relationships. Again, a lot of this is something you might get from the school board association or others. Somewhat relevant, David. I just want you folks to understand, go through this, in that you do have two distinct roles and responsibilities. The grievance board has said it's a bifurcated process. Bifurcated process where the superintendent makes a recommendation and the Board of Education is not involved, you all, in that hiring process in terms of being a part of the interview and really diving into or being involved in the decision making as it relates to the recommendation that comes to the board. I think sometimes that's kind of a hard pill to swallow because, again, if I come onto a board of education and I'm not familiar with public education, again, Dr. Womack is, so that's a benefit. But other folks who may have come onto the board in the past who are part of public education are folks here experience previously. But coming in just off the streets without it, I would have been shocked to sit through a school board association meeting before I sat on the board to recognize and realize, wait a minute, I'm not involved really in the hiring process. I'm not involved in the interview process. I can't get very deep into it. One thing to talk about shortly is, if anyone had to look back historically at where the reason is for the answer to that no, does anyone have any idea of what county it came from? Do you know? What do you know? Which county do you think it was? So how do you just know from way back in the day? Yeah, so really that case set the tone of boards and their responsibilities back there in 1994. I guess we built, new principal come in, who that principal is going to be, and board members kind of get involved. But yeah, that's the case that we want to read and make a determination what our roles and responsibilities. But at the end of the day, State Policy 5000 and West Virginia Code, there's an expectation that when the superintendent brings a recommendation to you all for a classroom teaching position, that recommendation is the person who applied that is what? Most qualified. So the most qualified individual, in quotes, that's what our expectation is. And when we make a determination as to who the most qualified is, that's when we got to get down into the nitty gritty with our principals and our faculty senate to get them to understand that determining who the most qualified is isn't just shooting from the hip. Determining who the most qualified is, State Policy 5000, West Virginia Code, that here are 11 factors that you, as being a principal and faculty senate, need to review and determine who the most qualified applicant is. So one of the things that we always talk about, and Mr. McPherson probably uses quite a bit in his terminology, is a matrix. I'm just going to hand out kind of what a matrix is. Oftentimes you'll hear a matrix. This isn't probably the one that we utilize in the county. It could be. And it's just the one that I have. I keep beside of me that I created many years ago to talk about what we look at when we talk about who the most qualified applicant is. And when we talk about who the most qualified applicant is, state code says, you know what, we're going to set some parameters here. We're going to tell the school system's got to look at 11 different factors. And what those factors are, and if we go across the matrix, appropriate certification, licensure, or both, right? That's the very first column, appropriate certification. If the superintendent has the personnel office post for a new first grade position over here at Mountain View, we've got several applicants for that position in its first grade. We've got 6 applicants who are certified in elementary certification, and we have another applicant that is certified in secondary social studies 512. Are we fooling around with a person in social studies 512? No. Principal faculty senate aren't going to see that individual, because what individuals are they going to see? We've got to hire someone that has the appropriate certification. got plenty of applicants that have the next thing that our faculty senate and our principals do in the hiring process is they're required to look at the amount of experience relevant to the position. In the case of a classroom teaching position, the amount of teaching experience and the required certification area. So our faculty senates and principals, they're going to have this little matrix there. They're going to have the list of names of applicants, and they're going to look at and kind of review how much experience do all 6 of those applicants have as it relates to elementary certification. So they've got to give consideration to that. Now, whether or not they give that any sort of influence over their decision, we'll talk about shortly. I'm not concerned about whether they do or don't, but what do I have an expectation our principal and faculty senate do? That they're at least aware of. That they're at least aware of what that experience is. The next thing that our principals and faculty senates have to kind of give consideration to the amount of coursework, degree level for both in the relevant field and degree level generally. So those 6 applicants that we talked about in the elementary position, our faculty senates and our principals have an obligation under statute to at least know who has the highest degree level among that group. And master's is a master's plus 15, is a master's plus 45, a doctorate, whatever it may be, there's an expectation to be given them the information to understand who has the highest degree. Whether or not, again, the faculty senate gives any consideration into the decision who has the highest degree, I'm not worried about that. I'll talk about that shortly. I'm worried about it. What about an expectation that they know what that degree level is? Academic achievement. Me, and probably most faculty senates and principals, I don't know what they put in academic achievement. It's an academic achievement at the undergraduate level. It doesn't give us any guidance, but again, there's an expectation that when we talk about academic achievement, our principals and faculty senates, when they're going through their selection process, are going to be aware of what the academic achievement, being GPA, of those applicants are. National board certification is something that our faculty senates specialized training relevant performance to job duties. Specialized training, we talk about posting elementary, first grade position, that elementary certification. We talk about specialized training relevant to job duties. Oftentimes, if I'm going to see that there's some sort of specialized training required for the position, where should I probably see that at? Okay, would probably see that in the job posting. If it's not in the job posting, I don't really think that there's a factor number 6, because for most of our elementary positions, candidly, at this juncture, I don't think there's any specialized training that we're looking for. Again, past performance evaluations are review. Again, one of the 11 factors. So as we go through the matrix, our faculty senates and principals would be able to sit down and talk to us about, they aware what their past experiences were. What's this factor? Seniority. Seniority does come into play. Of those 6 applicants, someone is going to be the most senior. Is that most senior person going to get that position? No. Seniority is just one of how many factors? 11. There's another factor. Another measure. It's a wild card. Basically, what that is that affords interviews. And in those interviews, there's an expectation. Again, appropriate questions are asked. Appropriate questions are asked in a uniform way among all of the applicants. That those interviews are conducted together. They're all trained on appropriately do. Because if we've got 6 applicants for one position next door here at the elementary school, all 6 of those applicants are internal applicants. How many people are we going to hire? 1. And how many people will be upset? And I don't think, Dr. Silly, I don't recall ever in this county, you and I working together, obviously we're doing the right things. Because you're always going to have folks who are disappointed when they're not hired. And we're always going to be in great shape so long as we do what? We follow the process. And when we follow the process, when we talk about the next two factors, factors 10 and 11, so when we're filling out the matrix, factor number 10 is the principal. The principal has the ability to vote who he or she believes is the most qualified. And the faculty senate is factor number 11. They have the opportunity to vote who they believe is most qualified. And if you go through the factors and the faculty senate and the principal make the same recommendation, we have to hire who? Faculty senate and the principal make the same recommendation of an applicant. That applicant is going to be brought. State policy says if the faculty senate makes a recommendation of an applicant, the principal makes a recommendation of an applicant, superintendent confers, well then generally that's always going to happen. The Board of Education shall employ that individual. And what the struggle with that is when our faculty senate and our principals are looking at all of these factors, the state policy says so one of the unique confusing parts of those 11 factors is if we have an internal applicant for the position, and in the scenario I just indicated I did, when your faculty senates and principals are looking at the matrix, they don't have to give any specific weight or any weight to any one factor. So in other words, if the faculty senate brings in all 6 individuals, they're doing interviews, and John Smith comes in, and John Smith's been down at Peterstown for 1 year. 1 year of seniority, still probationary, but comes in there and hits a home run on these questions about how he would, handle disciplinary matters, instruction in the 1st grade, involvement in the community. I mean, just blows away the faculty senate, blows away the principal. But yet we're talking about John Smith. He's got elementary certification. That's a good thing. But is he going to have the seniority? No. John Smith isn't going to be national board certified. Just say he or she just came out of college and we got other people national board certified. John Smith's academic achievement in terms of, let's just say he's got an undergrad, may be. Academic achievement, say it's 4.0. Someone else also has a 4.0. Amount of coursework, degree level, again, it's just at the bachelorette level. That's going to look a little funny, doesn't it? I mean, to me, that looks a little bit unique in terms of, wait a minute, this person is the most qualified? Well, state policy 5000 allows that to happen. So long as our faculty senate and our principals who have been trained are able to articulate that they're aware of all of these applicants' academic achievement, coursework, specialized training if there is any, national board certification, need them to be aware of it. But if it's not a factor into their decision, that's left to them. That's left to them to make that decision. And when they conducted that interview, what factor was that? I mentioned that was our wild card factor. So again, when we talk about the different factors, that interview process that I think most of our schools utilize throughout the state is often a significant decision maker in who's going to get the position. So I think in a lot of my counties that might be a little bit larger, board members see individuals being recommended for positions, and they're a little bit surprised that someone with more seniority did not get the position. You got a more senior teacher saying, my gosh, I've taught in this school system for 25 years. I live right next door to this school. I've always waited for this first grade position to come open. My gosh, I love it down at Peterstown, but boy, I live right here beside Mountain View. Why is that not my position? Again, because seniority is just how many factors? One. Is the faculty senate principal required to give any significant weight or any weight at all to that? No. In fact, the state policy at the very end, pages 11 and 12, have appendixes. And what those appendixes are is it's a single sheet of paper that our faculty senate is supposed to execute, and our principal executes another that tells them to tell us who it is that they recommended. It confirms that they have at least reviewed all of the criteria that we just discussed. It indicates that they recognize no amount of weight is required to be assigned to any factor, which again, that's in state policy, so this is in state policy. They're not going to have to provide us with any sort of matrix that they've created. It's not a requirement. It specifically said here because, again, 2013, the expectation was that our faculty senate give our principals more authority to make decisions as to who's going to be classroom teachers in our building. So again, what we get back generally is this form with an indication as to who it is that they recommend for employment. Now, candidly, there are times in counties that if there is a dispute, we've got to talk with the principal and faculty senate. You know, we start to recognize, and I hear them saying, well, we didn't know, you know, if they were national board certified. We didn't know if you know, what their academic achievement was. So it wouldn't have mattered. Well, that causes me concern because I still have an expectation that our faculty senates and principals know.
So if the code leaves it up to the principal and the faculty senate to assign weights, or not, or make a weight zero, is it a best practice to do so prior to starting to interview people, or wing it and hope to get fair?
You know, and that's the thing, you know, in the decisions, we can't be arbitrary and capricious. I think that, I don't know what this county typically does. All of our schools probably do it differently. We might have certain designees and seasonal designees. I mean, the whole faculty senate process is each year, you know, they make decisions on how are they going to conduct the interviews. And there's several different ways that each individual school can elect to do the process. Schools can elect not to do the process. I'm assuming that probably isn't the case in this county. I'm not sure. But I think that prejudgment's not appropriate. You know, in other words, prejudgment gets us in trouble. By that I mean, the faculty senate goes into this to create a matrix to favor one employee.
Right.
I can tell you, it always just comes back to like you know, but so long as I can have our faculty and principals articulate in a non-arbitrary and capricious way how they came up with a recommendation, absent even some sort of calculation or mathematical factors, we're going to be just fine. There are a couple decisions out there that try to dive into were they arbitrary and capricious, and it's got to be pretty good out of control for it to be arbitrary and capricious.
I was policy 5,000 rep, James,
Yeah.
for a number of years, so I've done these, but there's a danger, if you don't have your weights, there's a danger in having a groupthink conversation, and everyone kind of jumps on the train to have.
And again, you know, when you go into having weights, you know, I don't think there's any issue with one saying, well, appropriate certification licensure, everyone's going to get 1 point, for example. Because in this scenario, let's say all 6 of these applicants are from out of county, guess what the faculty senate principal have to do? We have to give a weight. So that, you know, that's a scenario whereby each of these factors gives them one point, but the principal and faculty senate's vote is how much? 2. But yeah, I'm going to, most of the time here we're probably having internal applicants, but we don't. But again, a lot of counties, they set forth in advance, what is it, how are we going to kind of have our factors. And it might be 1 point, you might have that interview process, 6 points. But again, one of the unique things is that, again, I've been doing this for a long time. I think it was hard for a lot of administrators and central office to kind of release it over to our faculty senate and principals, with an expectation, though, again, that they do the right thing from the standpoint of, you better be ready to come meet with me in that grievance hearing in Charleston, to discuss and be able to articulate the most qualified. If you look on paper, we hired Johnny, who's been here for 1 year, he's probationary, versus the teacher that's been next door, run for a lot of years. I'll lose a little bit of sleep, but I trust that the faculty senate, at least the chair and or principal, will come in and do what? Articulate. I think we're going to try an expectation of that as well.
What
And
if you, sorry.
I thought back in 2013 that there'd be grievances out the wazoo on this particular issue, that we would have mass chaos, but it's been pretty quiet. Early on, there was a case out in Monroe County. The exact same scenario I kind of went through, that if you would have filled out a matrix and given weight, 111 for the internal applicants, the individual they recommended would not have been the most qualified on the sheet of paper. But the grievance board said, we're not going to get into that. You know, if someone wants to take issue with this process, you're going to need to go where? Charles. Select the same individual, superintendent concurs with it, the board shall do what? Shall, and that the grievance board will intervene unless the decision was somehow arbitrary. Breaches is, you know, if the decision breaks sex, religion, something that is totally and wholly inappropriate, is generally how that would be.
I have a question. So what if you have no one that applies with the appropriate certification and say faculty senate and principal agree on someone, but, you know,
Then we're in the same boat.
okay.
Yeah. So it might be someone from permit, and, you know, faculty senate superintendent agrees, and we're not reposting to continue to find someone. Because one of the things is, I mean, we're filling positions nowadays with a lot of permit and.
But it is okay to repost that.
Yes, yeah, so for example, if we don't have anyone that's qualified, continue to repost. The problem is, when we do have qualified folks who apply, we can continue to repost. Initially, when legislation came out, I think it said less than 3 qualified applicants, they removed that, gave us the ability to repost, but then a few sentences later, if you keep reading, one of the things that did not change is you still have to fill the position within 30 days of the last day of the first posting period. So 30 days from the last day of the first posting period. So I'm usually only going to be able to get about 1 additional posting before an applicant's knocking on the door saying, now, I've got certification. And I struggle with that because in my world, certification doesn't mean that you're qualified for the position, but in the United States, it is. Any questions on kind of that process? I know I kind of read through it. Yeah, the issue is difficult because in your all's roles and responsibilities as board members, I would struggle as a board member and really not having much of an impact or a say in the personnel matters. That's just me. Maybe you all are good with it. You've just become accustomed to it. But again, as the superintendent indicated, back in 1994, when the new high school was being built, new principals coming into play. You know, the Board of Education at that time, that's well before my time. got too involved in the hiring of whomever the principal was, grievance board, less it's a qualified role, more understand, appreciate, like to be involved, but that's not your role and responsibility. It's the superintendent's role to evaluate recommendations. Really, it's kind of been stripped away from the superintendent, with the exception of when we're hiring principals. But it's the superintendent's role to evaluate, qualifications, things of that nature, and make recommendations to the board. I'm not saying you always have to rubber stamp those recommendations. Of course, if the board has questions of who it is that's being recommended for a position, I think the Board of Education should ask executive session, whatever the case may be, and got recommendation, and maybe the superintendent articulates your personnel director as to why that person's being recommended for the position or otherwise, in particular for administrative positions, principal positions, things of that nature. Again, I'm not saying rubber stamp them. Board members should have the ability to kind of understand that. Maybe you want to look at that what their qualifications were as well. Just have to be very cautious in terms of what our roles and responsibilities are. There are times when the Board of Education reject recommendations, in particular when it comes to coaching and maybe administrative positions. Usually, what's that going to do on my end? It's usually going to create some issues for me. Because often, if a board doesn't accept the recommendation of a coach or even a principal administrator, usually it's some sort of outside factor that doesn't fall back into that posting that set forth what those qualifications are. And when we go to a grievance hearing or otherwise, it usually results in me having two personnel directors, two principals in a school. Again, before any of that ever happens, communicating with the superintendent all things through the recommendations are. That's never been an issue. Your folks in central office and otherwise without any issue in terms of that contested that I recall. Any questions about anything that you kind of?
It's the trust but verify, is sort of what the board role is. I mean, you have to accept the decision, but it's okay to ask.
I think, and that's what I see in a lot of my counties. I don't think Dr. Slip would ever do this. I have a lot of times my superintendents get a little bit hesitant because the board has asked to see, for example, matrix of a principal.
They get all the. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. I mean, the
Which I appreciate.
grievance board in one case, like, leash, otherwise, but yeah, I think trust, verify, because one of the things the superintendent's doing in her role in terms of our principal's practice sentence, what she going to be trusting. But we continue, we've been in this room like every 3 or 4 years, we'll re-educate and give our folks refreshers door. But again, there is that expectation of the responsibility. They understand their role and responsibility. But I wanted to make sure again, you all gonna. As it relates to our service personnel, now one of the things is in our service personnel world, there is no flexibility. I mean, the superintendent brings to you a cook, custodian. There is no flexibility. That's set forth in code. It's usually generally easy who it is going to make recommendations. Our athletic coaches, and that's what we call arbitrary capricious standard. There is no matrix in terms of how we hire our coaches. again, assume in this county, it's probably a lot of that's left up to our principals and athletic directors to do interviews. We have an expectation that, again, they will conduct those interviews in an appropriate way. And do I need a matrix? No. Do they have one? If they do, okay. I just need those folks, and again, we work with them to be articulate in a non-arbitrary, capricious way why it is they selected, John over Jenny for the softball position. Because again, a lot of times those athletic positions become the most contested in our communities, regardless of where you reside. I mean, always. Yeah. Here, next door to Greenbrier County, wherever it may be, athletic position. Hot topic.
Not much. I don't have any tonight.
And Mom, anything you can think of, legal wise or otherwise? Answer. Personnel wise, student wise. Personnel season wise, again, recognize this personnel season here. And in every county, of course, and I trust that the board understands when the superintendent brings those recommendations to you. She's not coming to you in advance. Superintendent, self believers in due process for our employees. Not to take advantage of anything. You deny the recommendation for a trip or transfer. You're just making the recommendations, and it's not trying to be adverse and things of that nature. So, again, as we come into you during this personnel season, if there are recommendations, you think, why did she talk to me about this in advance? I don't know. This is not really be disadvantageous to the employee. Our employees come in and make their presentations to you folks, and you folks make those difficult decisions regardless of what they may be. We're about doing the right thing. Easy thing gets you in trouble. So, easy thing. That's fine. You don't talk to superintendent in advance. You're on the road. Always emotionally difficult.
Thank you.
Go next door and watch
Thank
some
you.
basketball.
Yeah, good
Very much.
Come on over,
Have
two
a-
games over
I
there.
have a student and I said, well, maybe I'll stop by for my meetings to watch him play if my meeting's not running too late. He said, you probably don't want to come
Playing. We're playing.
He's-
Montcalm or Mountain View
tonight. I
tonight?
think Mountain View's playing Eastern Green.
Okay. And
He said they
right
played
now it's probably Montcalm and Pikeview.
Yeah. So he told me I should set this one out.
I heard before I got there last night, I think it maybe became it was a, I don't know what.
It was a close game. It was like
It was, that's what I saw on
What
the
he told me.
scoreboard, I think, but it looked pretty close.
No, good luck to you. Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely.
Moving on, public comments. Have any young people? Do you want to speak?
I was here to myself, Justin Baker,
Oh, okay.
I'm in business development role, our business development person, Bluefield, our company, they pay me, counts me for the HVAC. Myself, those of you all know me, some of you do, but just since it's on the agenda, I thought I should pop in and name, like seeing emails thrown around, and that's pretty much it. That's one of the,
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, communications and reports. Dr. Basile, Superintendent. Thank you. Thank you, Misty. One thing, I will give everybody a for tonight. Oh, okay, thank you for doing that.
And I'll submit those to the school board
Thank you.
association.
Mr. Fraley, I will send one in for you and just.
Okay, thank you.
So as you guys know, the School Building Authority approved funding today for tech center renovation.
Yeah,
I'm super excited. We had requested a little over 4.5 million and they have awarded the full funding. And we were one of 11 counties that were funded. A total of 30 counties that submitted projects. So certainly appreciate the relationship and things that we have with the School Building Authority and work that they've allowed us to do here in Monroe for our students. The State Department's offering a letters training for elementary teachers, and this is based all around the science of reading. It's a pretty big commitment. It's a 2-year commitment. It's going to take place after school, and they'll have several like team sessions that they'll have to be on, and then they go in and implement it into the classroom. So we do want to offer a $15 stipend to those that complete it, because it is, like I said, a pretty big undertaking. They're going to be able to also pay a fee and get some, like up to 12 graduate credit hours, or they can also use it towards national board certifications. Looking forward to, we've already got a team that they're doing 3 different cohorts, and we have a team that has started round 1, which actually they've had 1 meeting, and then the actual training starts in January. They're going to have another one it'll start in July, and then another one the following January. Update on Mountain View's construction. The substantial completion date for the exterior has been moved out just a little bit to February 22nd. They're still within their time frame there, so no problems there. And then the interior is going to be just a few weeks later due to an RFI that they were waiting on answers from the engineer. So, and then the last thing, just a reminder that James Monroe's band concert is Thursday. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Basile? Okay, moving on. James Monroe Student Government Report. We don't have a representative here this evening, so we'll move on to Student Learning Report. We have with us the Head Start ladies who are going to do our student learning just in report time. this evening.
Lock the door.
Try to make this short. But we don't normally
Thank you.
report on student data, family data as well. Since we encompass so the first set of graphs that you're going to see is just eligibility categories. And you'll see on the right, those are the categories. And our biggest one is SNAP. That's food stamps, and that was in the category 2 years ago. So I feel like a lot of these families are income based. It's a lot easier for them to get in their wallet, give us a copy of that card, if they want to get a pay stub. Their foster, we are looking at 7%. There's no one. TANF is temporary assistance for youth. Lots of times people say, oh my gosh, there's so many people receiving those checks from the government. When you look at that list, there's very few. Because a while back, it took 5 years. We don't have anyone that came in for TANF. The majority of ours, like I said. And then under early head start, once again, now category, we do have income and early head start in our program. Once we've proven that we turn over every rock, looking for some early category, we can take up to 10%. We do have a couple in early head start. Family dynamics under head start. We broke it down into 2-parent, 7-parent household. Our biggest category
category was two-parent household, and we've seen a shift in the last 2 years. When we did this 2 years ago, we had way more single-parent households, but there's not that much of a gap between early head start and then two-parent, single-parent, running. But as you can see, we do have, children, parents, great-grandparents, or then on to Head Start for employment, we break it down into two-parent households that both work, two-parent households one work, single-parent households that work. And so it's divided pretty equal, other than that two-parent household. Not sure where that. And then early Head Start, I was a little surprised at how next is under education, other parents. And Head Start, you can see we have 6% that don't have. This year we only have 7% that have an associate's degree that took college hours. And last year we were in last year. I'm surprised to see that. And then under early Head Start, we have 5% that do not have not a big deal for us here in Monroe County, like state. In Head Start, we do have one child that family, so for that family, so I think it's coming. And here's a breakdown of our classrooms, just to give you numbers of each of our classrooms and how many pre-K kids and how many 3-year-olds are in each. And probably the biggest thing that will you is the number of heights in each class. And section.
That are in process from birth to 3.
How many of those are speech?
So as you can see in your packet, things are broken down.
I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit so Mr. Franklin can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the first part, just tells you the total number of students that I could my numbers on. That's on what I had available to me at the time that I was doing this. So there's 73 days start, and I did it with 9:30. So on our vaccine compliance, you will see that, all of our children are up to date on their vaccines. Most of our children are above where they need to be with their vaccines. But that's a good thing. That just means when they get to kindergarten, they're already ready to start. We don't even have to look at the vaccination. So that's what we want them to do, but some of them can't get those. And then with early head start, those children, they usually can't get those. You know, they're having so many little child visits that. BMI measurement, we have to keep up with how many children are within their BMI, how many are underweight, and how many are overweight. This is really hard. So what we do is every child that comes in, we get their height and weight. And you will see most children are within their height range or their weight range that they need to be. We have some that are underweight, some that are overweight. Now, if they're underweight, that's fine. You know, usually that's not a big deal. They'll catch up. Where you run into problems is when you send a letter home to little Johnny's mommy or daddy telling them that he is overweight. They don't like that, and I don't like to send that home. So I've worked up a letter that I send, and that's not in the packet, but I will leave one that you all can look at. It just basically talks about like healthy weight and what to look for, and just try to be active with your children. That we're not ones to tell you what's good or what's not good, but vision screen. So you can see the numbers there. We have screened every child in pre-K Head Start, early Head Start. 18 of those have failed. So we have to follow up with those that haven't passed the vision screening. So far, I do know that 4 have received glasses, and we do this with a Welch Allen spot vision screener. So usually when they fail, it's very accurate. They do need glasses. So far we know that 4 children have received glasses, and 5 have confirmed that they have an appointment coming up. The others I have not heard back from, so I don't know where they are with this. And some of them just don't like to take their children. Well child exams, the well child exams and the dental exams. It's not a requirement to be enrolled in school, but it's something that's looked at when we're reviewed on if you're at 100% on our well child and dentals, and we are never at 100%. We do know that every children that's enrolled in school does have we don't know whether they all, yeah, we do know that they all have a medical home because they're all up to date on the immunization. So, whether we get their well child exams turned in or not is so you can see where we are with this. We've had pretty good turnouts so far this year. How many we've gotten turned in, but it's not and we have phone calls, many phone calls to the as well as the parents, and we still I don't general exams, I don't have the early head start numbers on this only because those are the really young children. Like most students won't see that age, so we really don't stress over that. But we are fortunate enough to have a relationship with Philcom Dental, so they do come in and do a screen on those children. And it's just a basic exam looking to see if they have urgent needs or where they are. And they'll do a like brush some fluoride on their teeth to at least give them that if they don't have a dental problem. What we need. So that's why our dentals are so high. We still have some that don't have dentals because the parents won't sign them or they're asking. So those are 2 things we're really trying to work on. then also, the other thing, as far as like health diagnoses with pre-K head start, we only have 2 children who have epilepsy, which is seizures. We have one with anaphylactic allergy. We do have a few with like, that say they have asthma or whatever, but it's not treated at school, so we don't count those. We do know that every student that's in pre-K head start has some form of health insurance, whether it's Medicaid, private insurance. And then also the trainings and education that I provide for either students or staff, I have listed those. We do CPR first aid, ABD for staff, parents, and then we do it for certain high school students like seniors, we do proper hand washing for new employees and students. Basic first aid for the preschool Head Start students. Medication safety for students, and then dental education. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
First of all, I need to start off. What that is, I go into the classroom and I'm and it's six rounds, and probably should do it. And what we focus on here is the positive climate, negative climate, regard for student behavior management, instructional learning, concept development. If you look at this, we pretty much stay normal, but you do have situations how the environment is. So, new teacher, you change how I score, if you have a child very upset, you can back to school very well. But what I do is I go in, and then we're always low. The concept development, low for but we try, like when I do schedule one, we have this changes daily. Developmental speech and vision, we have one. Developmental speech, OT, we have 2. Speech, I actually think that's really changed. One is being a staff or the developmental speech is Gina has me break down the pre-K and Head Start IEPs. We have 29 that are pre-K and Head Start. What we do for the referral processes, we do teacher observations. The only reason I had Sherry break those down is okay, we're going to move on to the individual table service plan. And right now, we have open service. We have speech and OT and one stages of developmental early Head Start. That's our screening. We had 26 with no concerns. We had 8 concerns, and 2, with 2 of those being active. And sometimes, even though they need to be preferred, it has to be extra. So sometimes
I get it, but still.
And early can sort of outside, we have 76% above milestones. Some of that is what your speed. Pre-K developmental ages and stages, 92% above cutoff. Now we move on to our and this is our assessment. Now, we just had this assessment in the fall. So, I'm trying to compare from last year's to this year. But I'm just going to focus on this year's. Self-regulation of play, that's, you know, it's pretty normal. Our low areas in mathematics and science is number and numeric operation. And usually that is pretty common at this stage. And related arts and literacy. And so, you know, I did send each individual teacher their PLRS so they can see, so they can plan their lessons by this and see which areas they're. And then the one that shocked me this year was our gross motor. And if you can see compared to last year, that's really shocking because usually that's what.
That's not shocking to me, because kids are on devices.
They are.
Motor's not
They are.
developing. Should be.
And then, so, Imagination Library. We're pretty much 50-50. It's 64, and number of pre-K sites. And it's something every child has to use it. You got some more questions?
The first draft, we're going to look at family outcome goals. And in the Head Start realm, under the family, parents of families are encouraged to establish a goal for their family throughout the year. And 59 enrolled, 37 families have established goals at this point. And 5 of those have already completed goals. And out of those goals, you see a chart which lists what areas their goals are in, whether it be employment, nutrition, housing, life skills, parenting, or parents and educators. Life skills being the largest area in that graph, I took it a step further so you can see what types of goals are in that area. For Head Start, there was one speech goal for potty training, and there was an increase from last year in the emotional and self-regulation area. So it seems to be a big concern of parents that the children learn coping skills. So in early Head Start, we have 30 early Head Start families, with 27 of those having goals established and 6 of those having goals completed. Life skills is once again one of the largest areas, and it's quite the opposite in early Head Start, in that potty training was the biggest area with 9 of those families, one with emotional and self-regulation. So as far as resources and referrals that I've made this year. So far, I've assisted 5 families in these different areas: clothing, food, and transportation. And I work with local agencies to help access resources to help them meet those needs, whether it be clothing, or housing, or utility assistance, whatever they might need. There's usually a resource around here. So our next page is the ASQ SC2 assessments. That's our ages and stages social emotional. And out of 59 Head Starts that are currently enrolled, every single student in Head Start has been assessed, and 9 of those required follow-up. Down below the graph, 4 of the 9 were monitored, and 2 were reassessed with an outcome of 0 continuing concerns to date. There are 3 IDPs put in place, and then 2 IEPs still in process. Our next page is our student trainings that have been provided to date. Social, emotional, and self-regulation is an ongoing throughout the school year. I do visit classrooms regularly, and sometimes I'll suggest, some kind of training, or the teacher might even ask based on what's going on in the behaviors in the classroom. We did butterfly hugs and deep breathing exercises. Hands are not forgetting. And then I asked the Family Refuge Center to come in. They did a 2-day presentation to all the Head Start classrooms on the Safe Touch. Trainings provided to our staff. Those are listed here. There are several. Age-appropriate behavior management, domestic violence awareness, and the upcoming trainings will focus on mental health, wellness, and trainings provided to parents. I do regular monthly meetings, and during those meetings I will have parent trainings. In October, we did the Father Tailgate event, and that's focusing on the importance of male role models in the lives of our students. In October, we did a policy council training for new members. November, the power of gratitude in parenting, and I did start the family interaction training, and I will pass this around. That is an evidence for a research-based parenting curriculum that is that has been developed in part by West Virginia University, and I do that in an ongoing basis throughout the year. And I will incorporate that into parent meetings throughout the year. There's 3 modules, and they can get it in attending the parent meetings, and if they request, I can also get that access online. And then this past month, I did coping with stress, anxiety, and depression during the holidays. Upcoming trainings, as I said, will continue the FIT training, household budgeting, 5 love languages, diversity, mental health, and the importance of self-care, and healthy meals on a budget. Finances are always an important area in this. And attached on the back, you will see some of the flyers that have been sent home to parents to attend those parent meetings. I will also send around newsletters that I send home to parents each month. And they are in English and Spanish, because we do have one family that are only Spanish speaking. These newsletters provide tidbits of information, food pantry schedule, what's going on, dates to remember, and some things to do. Any questions?
Probably a crazy question, but it's okay. I'm looking, you're saying Head Start, 59, and then over here, the parents that have attended, is that 15 out of that 59, or is that 15 out of?
Attended meetings?
Yeah.
That is, that's 59 students, and yes, those are parents. Only
15?
15, that's my big parent event, Father of the Tailgate event. And I think what attracts them to that meeting is that if they attend, they receive a free ticket to the football game. But it gets them there. Any little incentive.
Years ago,
Yeah.
Oh,
we alternate,
We. I do, offer
I
food.
I was just kind of, trying to put it all together, but yeah, it's kind of sad that
It is sad.
that those kids and that many parents are willing to come and do.
Actually, for the Father of the Tailgate event, I had 98 RSVPs, parents and children, and 15. Yeah, we have a lot of leftover food. But I do offer food. A lot of times I myself will provide homemade food, and I do offer other incentives like gift cards or gifts, that might go along with whatever training we had. And still the numbers stay low.
and they get paid mileage.
And they get paid much to attend. But as I talk with other family service managers in the Head Start world, this is common. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, guys. All right, moving on, we have the treasurer's report. Robin's on here with us first. Okay, good. All right, Robin. Treasurer's report here.
Okay, so like, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never tried to use the speaker on my laptop before, so I wasn't sure.
We gotcha.
So, Joy and I put together this report. I officially moved down to the treasurer's office at the beginning of December. I helped with various duties during the month of November, but was still very heavily involved in the payroll function. But one of the biggest things that Joy and I have been working on is one of the things that the state is requiring of us is monthly monitoring, where they send us a spreadsheet that shows the areas where like either our percentages aren't like something is going to be overspent at the rate that it's being spent or whatever. And so, which basically just means we need to look at our budget and we have to figure out, oh, this item didn't actually have a budget. That's why that's shown that way. And we have to move the funds around to make sure everything's going to be covered. So we spent a lot of time doing that at the beginning of this month to try to look forward through the whole year, not just 1 month at a time, so that hopefully when we get those monthly reports, they'll continue to look better and better. And do keep in mind, it's never that we don't have the funding. It's just a matter of that when we've set up the budgets, we may have needed to put a little more in this bucket than the bucket that it started in. But you can see on the treasurer's report that revenue-wise for November, we did not have as much revenue in November as we did in October, but the bulk of that, if you look back up to October, is due to the COVID funds, which of course we are trying to get that all zeroed out because that ended effectively September 30th, and that's really the main change there. And then on our current expenses, they are a little bit higher, but not anything significant. I'm actually not for sure what all you would look forward to hearing, as part of a treasurer's report. I just wanted to go over the items that we did submit to you. Of course, you saw that on the supplements and transfers, the amounts that were taken care of there. And a lot of the transfers, again, we're dealing with the moving money to make sure that the budget was covering everything that was coming through accounts payable.
Robin. Thanks, Robin. And I will
Thank-
tell the board she's at a conference at Stonewall. That's why she's not here with us. Well, thank you for getting on with this, okay? All right, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report as reported? Mr. Utterback has made that motion. Are there any questions or other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thanks again, Robin. Okay, moving on, policies and procedures. We had our parent involvement policy out for 30-day comment period. Did we have any comments on that,
We
Dr.
did
Vasili?
receive comments and incorporated some of those. Actually, Dr. Womack had sent us some. The one that we didn't include was your recommendation about communities and schools. We did, because we're unsure how long it's going to be here.
Yeah.
Or it's the governor's.
I think there was a kind of generic statement about other community institutions.
I would recommend the board approve it as written.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept Dr. Vasili's recommendation to approve this policy as written, as revised, excuse me? Okay, Ms. Sets has made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Consent items, we have our bills, budget supplements and transfers and minutes from November 21st to December 3rd. Removing check numbers 2608 and 2609 from the register. Do I have a motion to approve those consent items as written with those adjustments? Ms. Stetz has made that motion. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, new business. Consider approval of quote from Southern Air for the cooling tower at James Monroe High School.
Okay, so this is, as you all know, we replaced the motor. There's still some issues with the cooling tower. And so this is in addition to what's been done. And actually, we're working on scheduling a meeting with Southern Air to discuss next steps for the cooling tower. You know, in the not so far off future, we're probably looking at a major overhaul or replacing. This will get us through, and
School year.
that needs to be done prior to hot weather. So we need to be working on this now.
So I'm assuming you are recommending the approval of this quote.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the recommendation of Dr. Vasili for approving this quote? Mr. Utterback's made that motion. Are there any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Motion passes 5-0. Consider approval of Brown Construction Incorporated proposal to replace James Monroe High School's auditorium lights. Desperate need.
Yeah. Mr. Bishop had reached out to several companies to get quotes. Most of them wouldn't submit a quote, and the issue is the way the seats are. You know, you can't, they're either gonna have to take down and put back up the scaffolding, or this company actually has some special scaffolding that they can use. So we only got the one quote, but we did meet the state requirements by reaching out to a lot of companies, so. I recommend the board approve it, and we try to get these replaced as soon as possible. I think they're down to 6 lights working.
Oh, my goodness. Do I have a motion to accept that recommendation from Dr. Vasili for replacing the quote to replace the auditorium lights?
So moved.
Mr. Fraley's made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Consider approval of Lynn Gas Equipment quote for Victor Track Torch for the Monroe County Technical Center's welding program. Dr. Vasili, any further information on that? We already have.
Further on that, it's something that's needed for the welding program. Any questions?
somebody else. I'm not a welder.
Okay. I know we're trying to make sure we have everything we need for that program, so.
Mr. Hubbs.
Was that something that he had brought up at this meeting? Said there's something they needed
And he
for
was,
welding. Is that it?
Yes.
Is that what-
he's also, on our next meeting, gonna order a couple of new welders. I'm waiting for now, but, he does want to order some new ones, but this is what he was talking about. Yes.
Very good. Do I have a motion to consider this quote for the welding program equipment?
So moved.
Dr. Womack has made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Yeah, been down there, go check that out. It's, some of those kids are doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some of that.
So,
Okay. Consider approval of out-of-state trip request for Peterstown Middle School. Grade 6 to 8 band is going to go to Heritage Hall in Rich Creek. That's one of our local nursing homes to perform a holiday band music for the elderly. They'll also be visiting Country View in Peterstown and Linside Healthcare at Linside, funded through the band account. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. And I'm assuming they're asking because they have to go out over to Virginia. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this out-of-state travel for the band? Okay, Ms. Stutz has made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Approve top-ranked CPA audit firm to complete the FY '24 financial audit. That's the extra paperwork you had there on your desk. Dr. Silly, you have anything to add to this or to?
Robin, did you want to talk about that?
It doesnent really matter to me. If you want to go ahead, that's fine.
Okay, so we did receive, for the FY '24 audit, just to refresh everybody's memory, the state auditor's office gave us, approval to go out for bid to vendors. We did receive two, expressions of interest from Pike Jones Group and then Perry and Associates. And so, we met yesterday as an audit committee. Dr. Womack came in, Ms. Pack, Ms. Hubbard, and myself, and went through the two submittals and basically went through the attached scoring system for each one of those, and followed the state auditor's requirement for how to score those. Perry and Associates did come out on top. Theirs was also the lowest price amount, so that worked out good in our favor. And that will be only for 1 year. It'll be for the FY '24 audit, and then this spring we'll put out for bid.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the recommendation for Perry and Associates to handle our FY '24 financial audit? Mrs. Stutz has made that motion. Are there any other questions or further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Consider approval of out-of-state trip request for FFA to attend the farm show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on January 8th, funded by the FFA. So that's just for out-of-state travel.
This will replace their, they do to Louisville,
Louisville?
to the farm show. Now, they did take the officers to Louisville this year for competition.
Right. That was
The farm
state
show.
competition. I mean, national
The
competition.
farm show will replace the one.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for FFA as noted?
So moved.
Dr. Womack has made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. You have a personnel list of recommendation from Dr. Basili. Are there any questions or need for executive session? Okay, do I have a motion to approve this list as written? Mrs. Stutz has made that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. All right. Just before we adjourn, I just wanted to let Dr. Silly and Misty know how much we appreciate them throughout the year. Everything that you guys do. You sure do, along with the rest of our staff, help keep our county going. You know, it's really something, I have to tell you guys, when you travel around for the last 15 years I have, and learning about all the things we shouldn't do when it comes to personnel and all that over the years at board trainings. It's something to be said that we haven't had a grievance regarding hiring in the last, how many years has that been since Jason's been with us? 14, 13 or 14 years. So all of that comes from what a great job they do knowing the law and making sure that we're following it. So we do appreciate you guys very much. And we hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. Anything else before we adjourn? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Utterback has made that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thanks, Mr. Fraley, for joining us again, and thanks, Robin, for being on to help us through that other stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Have a Merry Christmas. Take care.
You as well.